Hello, everybody. How you doing? It's me, Paddy from across the shuck, and I hope you are all doing well. Well, you've seen by the title of the video. This is so you want to collect pocket knives. Some tips and tricks um, on how to do that, and sort of because it is a bit of a minefield if you've been into modern knives and you've taken the step over to traditional. There is, how can I put this? There's more to learn than just buying um, an ordinary locking knife because you can just see it in front of you. You can see the handle size. Is it going to fit? What's it going to feel like in the hand? You don't have the option of two or three blades on the one knife. And those are things that I think if you start at the beginning, now these are just my thoughts. They're not law. They're just my thoughts on, and they're all in hindsight because they're things that I didn't think of before I got into collecting slip joints, and I'm heavily into it now, as you might have known on the channel. So these are maybe wee tips that would save you um, some heartache on the way there and buying stuff that you then have to, sell on to get something else because you didn't know whether you would like that or not. And the first thing I'm going to say is go cheap and find out what sort of a pattern of knife that you like. Find out whether you like a single blade, a double blade, a triple blade, a multi blade, because they can go up to, six and beyond different blades on a pocket knife, which is something you don't really think about. And you can see one of these knives, it's like um, a Swiss Army knife. The one or two blade one is all right in your pocket. It's nice and slim. But once it goes beyond that, they're very uncomfortable if you have to cut things. So you do have to think a wee bit outside the box. Whereas if you're just buying a single bladed locking knife, it's quite straightforward. Everything's there in front of you. Somebody comes on YouTube, gives you the size it is, the blade thickness. Look, the one thing that I'll tell you that is absolutely amazing about the majority of traditional pocket knives is they're so thin behind the edge. You don't have to worry about taking a measurement. It just cuts much better than most modern locking knives. Dead simple. The blades are so thin behind the edge, and the blade stock is so thin that they cut better than most locking knives. Period. Now that's again, this is just me. These are my opinions. They might be wrong, and you can tell me they're wrong. I have no problem with that. But for me, that's what I found out since I started collecting them. So I could go down the route of showing you Rough Riders and knives of that and marbles and things that are about at the moment, which are the cheaper traditional knives. And they are great knives. I highly recommend Rough Riders to get a pattern or a knife style that you want and get started maybe by one or two of that pattern. If you like it, then go up to a different one, a different price point to get a better traditional pocket knife. But Rough Rider are amazing, and if you only ever buy Rough Riders, you're buying a marvelous knife for a budget price that will probably last you your day. And it's as simple as that. They're just great knives. But if you're anything at all like me, I couldn't stick at just Rough Riders. I would have to go on to see what the more expensive ones are. Now, everybody has a budget, and I understand that. And I always think, always stay in your budget. Don't get in debt for a knife. It's only a knife. So that ranted a wee bit on there. Sorry. So I've decided not to show Rough Riders. I'm going to go through my collection in the price range that I'm very comfortable in, and to where I'm now comfortable to save up and buy more of. So here we go. And I'm starting with this one. This is not a new knife. It's a second-hand knife I bought in the second-hand market. It's got beautiful bone. Now, granted, the back's not as nice as the front, or the front's not as nice as the back. This is in buffalo bone, I believe, or cow bone, but it is just stunning. And this knife cost me about £35. I can't even remember, but it's somewhere around that. And I picked this up on Etsy. Look, over in the States, you have YouTube, you have Etsy, you have, not YouTube, sorry, but you have eBay. our eBay doesn't sell many knives at all. Very, very few. So I rely on Etsy to buy my second-hand traditional knives, and there's plenty on there. Absolutely everything you're looking for, and every price range. They have antique ones that'll cost you hundreds, maybe up to 1,000 for some of them. But I like to just buy, anywhere from 10 to 30, 40 pounds. I can buy myself a really good knife. Now, I've built up a rapport with a couple of the sellers on there, and I know that when I buy something from them, their description is good and it's real. So I tend to go back to that person again when I see something that he puts up, and it's constantly changing like everything else in the knife world. They're constantly changing their stock as it's sold and new stuff's brought in. So this is just a basic jackknife. It's got that pen spear blade, the master blade. Look, I haven't polished these all up because I don't normally polish them in real life. This is look at that blade has hardly been used, and yet this is a 35 pound knife. It's in carbon steel. Probably not the best carbon steel in the world, but let me tell you, it's like a razor blade. It'll cut the finger clean off you, and this one has me a couple of times already. It is in perfect condition. The back, there's a couple of little gaps in it. But to be honest with you, this knife, listen, there's no half stop, but there's an absolutely amazing. Listen to that. That is just beautiful. So this is what I would advise you to start with. Your Rough Riders, and maybe try and, they're better brands. This is a Rogers from Sheffield. So William Rogers from Sheffield knife. One of the old Sheffield sort of makers when they were making good products. Now, I don't believe this started off with these. They're really skinny gaps. The knife is not, look at this blade, is completely rock solid. There's no movement in it whatsoever. So I mean, this'll just last me my day as a beautiful pocket knife that I wouldn't be ashamed to take out anywhere with that bone. And it's a talking point rather, but it's a good substantial blade. It's a good 2.5 inches blade. So this could be my and has been and probably will be my main EDC in the future. It's just a cracking knife, and you can pick them up. Just be choosy. Make sure you buy something that's half decent, unless you're a restorer and you want to go down that road and restore, buy an old battered one. But I'm tending to buy now, as I've learned by my mistakes, I'm tending to buy now where the blades have not been used much. You're not getting bowed blades and chunks out of them. I'm buying ones that look half decent, and you can just wait for them and get one at a price that you're comfortable paying. So that's the first one I wanted to show you, and it's to outline the budget brands. Start with them first, because the traditional knife is not just it's not just a knife. There's usually a bit of history behind each knife, even if it's just what it was used for in the past and what it was, because traditional knives were all made for specific purposes, most of them. Now you'll get a jackknife like this, and it's just an all-purpose knife. But there's other ones that are stock knives that the old ranchers would have used. You've got all sorts. So the history there is there where you don't have it in a modern knife. So there we go. That's the first one. Let's get that out of the way. I'm going to try not to drag this out. I've only got 5 knives to show you, and I'm showing you because I'm going up in the price progression from, the 30, 40 pound knife, and I'm going up to this is now again, they're more expensive over here in the UK. The case are 60, 70 pounds over here in the UK. This is just a little case Barlow, a little straightforward knife. With a lovely blade. This is stainless steel, true sharp stainless steel from case, which is fine. It's not the best in the world, but how many times do you blunt a knife? I know that's a saying that I keep saying, but it is. How often do you blunt a knife during your day? Now, if you're a working man and you use a knife and you'll blunt it. So yes, by all means, go for a better blade steel. And you can get modern traditionals if you want to keep the traditionals that have got M390. And I have some of them. But to be honest with you, I'd rather use this and sharpen it in my lunch break. It's dead simple. Take a wee sharpening stick with you, sharpen it in your lunch break, it's ready for the afternoon. So for me, that's what I like. And this is lovely blue bone on this one. It's just dyed cow bone. That's all it is. And you can see where it takes different patina, where it sucks into the bone, and some places that it doesn't. And this camera is not doing it justice. It's a lovely multicolored blue. You can see the different patina on it. And these knives, look, Case has been making knives for years upon years. They're very good at what they do. They knock out a lot. This one is pretty good. This one has not got many flaws on it whatsoever. But when you're buying blind, like just from a knife company, you, sometimes you'll get the odd duffer of a Case knife. I have got about three or four here that are really good, but I have had a couple of really bad ones that had blade wobble, that had gaps in the back. So you just be careful. If you can buy it face to face in a brick and mortar store, yes, by all means support their stores and buy them from there. But this is lovely, and again, this is a spear blade. Not all these that I'm going to show you are spear blade. It just happens. I think the first couple of them are. I never even noticed because, yes, I have favourite blade shapes, but on the little knives, the pocket knives, the spear blade to me is probably the most useful. The drop point spear blade, pen blade, they are just useful. So I do tend to buy quite a lot of them. Although the clip would be my favourite blade shape. So look, this is really well put together. It's a lovely knife. The backspin's good. It's tight. You know, I can use away at this and have done. You can see by this, this is one that's carried regular. As a secondary knife usually, because these are quite small. It's just over 2 inches cutting length on the blade, but it does me for most of what I'm going to do. There's no doubt about it. So that's just increasing the price, up to about 60, 70 over here, 60, 70 pounds over here. I would say they're probably only 50 or 60 in the States, 50 or $60. There is a big difference when we have to pay the taxes, and that's fair. That's, it all evens out in life. Now I'm going to move up to another company. This is a German company, and this is another thing that's quite nice about traditional knives. You'll get different companies from around the world that do traditional knives that are not all coming from China. In fact, I don't think I have. I might have a couple of traditional knives from China, but most of them are from countries, civilized countries from around the world who don't have slave labor, because I know that bothers a lot of people. I'm buying a knife from China because I like the knife and I buy it. So I have no problems with that. But with traditional knives, it takes that nearly out of the equation because you're buying knives that are made by reputable companies. This is a Boker knife, a German knife, one of the longest running, consistently running knife makers in the world. In the world, they go beyond Case, way beyond Case. So you've got tradition, you've got history. This is in bog oak, and they do tend to get their woods from different places. This is from is it an oak bog, an oak tree bog? And it's just beautiful. It looks black, you know. Most of the time you get it on camera, you'll just see the black, but it's not. It's got such lovely patina in between the striations here in the wood. It is just beautiful. Lovely sign, but it's really well made. And Boker, to me, and again, opinion is just my own, I believe they're a step above Case. And the only reason I'm saying that is consistency. No matter when I bought Boker knives, I consistently get a good knife for my money, that the fit and finish is good. Another thing I like about Boker, when they're doing their little barlows, look how thin that blade stock is. Can you see how thin that is? That's what you want in a penknife. That's going to slice little. Look, I don't know. We're probably down in the single figures behind the edge if you want to do it. But look at this lovely. You can get this in a stone wash. It's absolutely a stunning knife. It really is. And I love the long pull. I love the matchstick long pull more. And I've got a knife coming up, I think, that's got that on it. Not sure. Maybe not. But it's just a gorgeous knife, and it's a real good secondary or a full EDC knife. Anything that's about 2.5 inches cutting edge will do me, and this is just me I'm talking about, will do me for, a day's work. This is in 01 tool steel, So this is a bit longer lasting than your average carbon steel, and a great little work knife that looks extremely lovely to take out. It's not a scare people knives, and that's the other thing I like. I live in a country that has nanny state rules, so I have to beware of what I'm taking out and where I'm taking it out. So this is sheeple friendly. It's a pocket knife that everybody's granddad used to carry about. We used to carry about in this country quite freely, but well, we can now by law, but it still scares people. And again, I'm going to go from there and I'm going to go to another country. I'm going to go back to the US again for the last two knives are US knives. And this is a Queen City. Now, this is an older model of a Queen City when Queen were still making, now Queen are defunct now, but in the last lot of years, their knives were maybe not up to the previous standards that they'd held earlier on in their development. But this is one of the older model knives. I think this is from 2012. It's just a beautiful, what I call a pen knife. There's just two blades, one coming from either side. You got that huge big Queen City. I'll never know why they had to go that big. It just seems silly. And I had it so you could have seen the whole thing with the pen blade open. But again, I just happened to have another spear point. I wasn't checking blade shapes. It's more the fact that, this is probably a little bit more. This is probably the 80 pound mark over here for a Queen knife or a Shatton Morgan. A lot of them around that 80 to 100 pound over here. Now, there is nicer models that cost more, but I'm just going on average. Just going on average. I bought this. Well, I didn't buy. I actually did. I buy this or traded for it? I'm not sure. I think I maybe traded for it, so I don't know what the price it would have cost. But I would have thought that it would have been a half decent price because Queen City was probably the lesser of their models that they made at the time. And by lesser, I just certainly do not mean look at that bone. How gorgeous is that bone? The fit and finish of the bone in here. Its jigging is absolutely gorgeous. And this, it's like a mocha, whiskey colored. It's just beautifully deep. And you get that pocket worn there. But look how tight that is. It's an 8-year-old knife that's been used. But again, not very much. Not very much. I'm using it probably now more than it's ever been used because I love carrying this. It's substantial size. I think it's about 3.5 inches closed. Again, a cutting edge of about 2.5 inches. This is a perfect EDC knife for me because I get two blades. So if I don't want to carry, another knife, I can quite happily take this because I've got two blades. I can keep this razor sharp and use this all day. And if I need to, pop over for this. And I believe this one is in, it might be 01 Toolseal or 1095. I'm not sure. Queen has used a lot of different D2, quite a lot of D2 on their main brand, but Queen City, I think it's more of a carbon steel is what was commonly used. But again, I'm just learning and I want to learn some more. Um, but it is a beautiful knife. It really is lovely. And here's another thing. The first three were single-bladed knives, so you can grab the knife and there's no problem. The difference with a traditional knife to um, a normal locking knife is that when you grab a handle of a normal locking knife, you just have the handle. You don't have anything sticking out at the bottom here. So if I was to use the small blade, I'm going to have to wrap my hand around this blade here. And that's just the way it is. That's what you'll have to do. So is it really comfortable? It's not comfortably going to cut for an hour. But again, for me, I don't cut for an hour when I'm out on a normal day. But, and here's the but that I like. I have now started to notice when I have a knife that's got two blades or more than one blade, I like them to be in as flat as I can. Look how flat that is, how close that is to the scale. But look at the difference. There's nothing here between the tang and the other blade. So when I put my first finger in there, I get the full benefit of being able to squeeze with this if I need to push hard. And I don't have to clamp down with all four fingers. But because it's so narrow, look, it's not even leaving a mark. And I really squeezed that. So there we go. And I'm now starting to be able to have a look at a knife before I buy it and see what sort of gap there is there. Can I get a full finger in there without having the pain of this sticking into the side of me? And I'll probably show you the better way is to get the little pen blade out. Now, you can see there that you got a much more substantial blade, and I'm only using a wee pen blade. So the chances are I'm going to be cutting a bit of tape or opening a box, and that's going to be the end of it. But if you look at the gap here, I can still get my first finger in here, and it's not, I can squeeze as hard as I like, and it's not going to cause me any great pain. And I can hold gently behind it and be able to do as much work as I want without any discomfort. So that's something I'm fighting for me is important. But it's one of them things, if you've never handled them, you don't think of, you think, oh, well, I'll get a three blade because it's better having a three blade. But if you don't like holding it, then the knife's going to be unusable for you and it'll just sit in your collection or you'll get rid of it. So I'm learning now to be a bit more choosy. I have a few in there that will move on now because I've learned three. I was just greedy and bought a lot of GECs when I had the chance to do it. And I bought them without the knowledge of having knives and using them. And now that I actually use traditional knives on a daily basis, I have one every day now. I'm starting to learn the little things that I like on a knife. And I don't like them any bigger than this. About 3.5 inches closed is as big as I like them. There is exceptions, like one that I want to use for cutting steak. I'll have a bigger knife. And I found the knives, and it's a single blade knife for that. I don't want a twin blade. So you just keep learning. And again, that's such a joy if you just get into this habit of buying a locking knife after locking knife after locking knife. The blade shape changes, the handle material changes a bit, but not very much because that's just you can only have so many blade shapes and they all start to morph into one. Um, that's a bit of a flippant gesture, but it is. They just sort of, and the one that you'll like just becomes the one that you'll like, and you end up buying more and more of them. And like I have a box full of knives there. I love stacks of them, but I've so many now that I just don't get the chance. It's probably I don't really. I have my favourites to carry them, and the others just lie there and I use them for doing videos with. There's nothing wrong with the knives; they're brilliant knives, but I have my favourites. But with these traditional knives, each day I can have a different knife and enjoy that knife immensely. Again, this is my journey. Yours mightn't be the same. You might try traditional and hate them. But I think it would be a shame if a lot of people didn't try them. And this is we keep talking about the world the way it is and supporting our local economy. And we all live in places that sell knives. Maybe we need to buy more of our own. Yes, by all means, like I love my GECs. At the moment, I believe they're the best production company in the world for traditional knives. They're just hands down, there's nothing beats it. Look, there's custom makers out there that are amazing, but I'm talking just production companies that make knives for, I was going to say the masses, but it's not the masses because they don't have that production capacity. Case makes knives for the masses, which is why you'll get more inconsistency with their knives, whereas GEC has a set customer base that if they start letting them down with bad fit and finish, it goes. And with traditional knives, you'll find that if you get bad fit and finish on a regular basis, you will lose your custom and you'll go bankrupt. Take Sheffield, for example, where I live in the UK. They were the best knife makers in the world, but they just let their standards down. Now, there is companies now over in Sheffield that are now starting to improve it, and there's custom knife makers who are improving the quality. And I'm hoping that because of this lockdown, maybe more people are starting to generate that we need to start backing small companies in whatever country you live in. And even if I'm buying one in America or Germany or whatever, I'm keeping small businesses alive and I'm keeping that tradition alive. Is that because I'm an old fart and I love tradition? I have no idea. I really genuinely don't. I just know that I'm having a ball doing something that's a bit different than what most people are doing on YouTube. There's not very many of us who have YouTube channels doing traditional knives, and I'm doing more and more now. Don't get me wrong, I still love my locking knives. I genuinely love them. I haven't lost any passion for them, but I'm finding I'm not using them. I love having them there, but I'm a bit of a collector too. So I'm not just a reviewer. I do collect knives, and I don't want to keep just spending money chasing the newest knife out, because to me, at the moment, they're just samey. You'll get one company, take Wii or Civivi or any of them, the Chinese companies, and they're just knocking them out one, two a week. They're all starting to look the same, and then somebody comes up with another pattern, and then it's copied, and then that's the one that everybody wants. I just don't want to get into that. So maybe my little detour is just until all that sorts itself out. And it's like anything in life, it will sort itself out. Look, this is a GEC. Look at the back of that. Just look at the back of that. Look at that line. That's a swell center. I mean, how beautiful is that? It's not a swell center, actually. It's a serpentine swell back. I have no idea. You keep learning all these new words. This is the Unexcel. This is the top of the GEC range. They have little bit extras like line bolsters, pinch bolsters, swedges, better nail nicks. Now, this is something I knew I didn't like when I started collecting pocket knives. Was three blades. I've never liked the Stockman because the three blades I find awkward. I find when you're holding them, and you do have to do a bit of cutting, like I do sometimes in the daily bay. I'll get 3 or 4 boxes coming in. I've got to cut them down, and I can't just cut them down in big lumps. I have to go to wee bits. So if I have a Stockman in my pocket, I find it uncomfortable. And that's where I sort of started to be a wee bit wary about what I'm doing. This is just amazing. It's a three-bladed, although it's really two-blade, and a punch, which is a really useful tool. And this is just becoming fast one of my favourite knives. Apart from the beautiful bone, the elderberry bone on it, jig bone, it has the most beautiful. There's nobody, I just think GEC does the clip and the long pull better than anybody. How beautiful is that clip? And it's on the other side too. You know, it's just stunningly done. It is beautiful. This will do me as a main carry without a doubt. But now look, can you see here? There's two blades in here. Look how close they are to the covers there, the handle. Look how close they're in. So when I hold this, there's nothing here. It's lovely and rounded. I can hold right up here, and they're not bothering me in the slightest. And don't forget, you have no clip here. How many clips annoy you when you're holding a locking knife? But I can hold that, and I could cut for an hour and have no problem. They're not all like that, but this is one that I can do. So then you've got, this is a knife I'm going to choose if I think I'm going to have a day where I'm going to be cutting up boxes. It's definitely the one that I'm going to go for. If I want a multi-bladed knife for that day. Beautiful. But it's just lessons that I'm learning. There's a beautiful, and these are not small blades. Look at the size at all. It's absolutely amazing. Sharpened, it really does bore through wood. In, just seconds it bores through wood. And then the other one, and have you noticed all them blades? There's no score marks on them. Nothing. The blades don't rub. There's a punch and two big blades. Look at the size of that. A coping blade, a sheep's foot, whatever you want to call it. It's just an absolute cracker. It's a cracker of a blade. Again, that's probably just over about 2 inches cutting edge on that, and that's your secondary knife on this. But they all just fit so well. The fit and finish, if I could just show you, there's no rubbing anywhere on the scales or the three blades. It's just a beautiful. So these knives, you're talking, this standard of knife is going to be the 100 plus, £100 plus. And it's that for a reason, because you're buying quality. But it doesn't matter what the quality, as long as you're getting a knife that you are going to enjoy and you're going to carry, then it's not a waste of money. In my eyes, nothing's a waste of money if you're going to use it and carry it. So there's the five knives I chose just to have this little rant about traditional knives. And I would, if you haven't tried them, it's one of those things, don't knock it till you try it, because there's so much to learn about them, there's so much to enjoy about them, and they're just blooming good EDC knives that are not going to weigh your pocket down. You can get beautiful leather slips to carry them in so they don't fall sideways in your pocket. I hear that as an excuse not to carry a knife, but there we go. These are just my feelings. I'm not doing this to upset or wind anybody up. I'm trying to get my passion for these across. The same as my passion for my locking knives. I mean, you've seen my passion on my locking knives. You know, am I going to say that these are better than this? They are for what I want them to do. They are for what I want these to do. This is a completely different animal. It's a beautiful knife, absolutely perfected to perfection. Perfected to perfection. It's beautiful, but it's illegal here, so I can't carry it. But that doesn't mean that if this was made legal here tomorrow, I would still carry these and that, because they're just two different things. And I think that's what amazed me. Like, it's gone into two different worlds, and this world here is not obsessed with what I believe this obsession is with money and how much it's cost. And look, I'm in it. I've invested an awful lot of money in my collection there, and again, I don't regret it at all. But I wish I'd have found these earlier, because these are more affordable for me. And I know some of these are over 100, so a lot of people, that's out of their pay scale maybe. But there's plenty of other options out there, and that's the joy. When you go to cheap knives, locking knives, there's not that many great ones out there. Although you're still going to have the likes of Ganzo, but that's when you're going to get this China thing coming in. And I'm tired of that argument. I'm just tired of it. Look, Paddy's away. I've rambled on. Oh, geez, 32 minutes again. I am awfully sorry. If you've stuck with me to the end, thank you so, so much. I sounded like the birds there. Thank you so much. Please go back a couple of videos ago. I've got a $5 charity auction for a Medford. You've only got 2 days left to enter. The rules are there. Watch the video. There's rules underneath it on the I've pinned to the top of the comments. Just follow them and enter. It's for a great charity cancer, a cancer for families. I didn't explain it. My mouth is dry. I didn't realise I was going to talk so long. That was meant to be a 5-minute video. Paddy's gone. Cup of tea time. Bye now.